just yanked the cables.
Someone
Whose fault is
just
that?
yanked a
Whose fault is
plate.
that?
Yeah, it's that. So
Still
that
setting
one-
up.
Oh, he's so loud. I think that's our intro, guys. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you get really mad when I touch everything.
No, because these are a bit dodgy. This
This is
they
a
dip
horrible
in
start.
and
We're just touching the microphones.
No, it's good. It's
People are
professional.
turning
This
off.
is the best.
I've just tweeted us. Look, that's what's happening.
Are we live?
Yeah, live on Twitter. We're always live on Twitter.
baby.
Okay. This is it. This is the technology episode. I quite like the bed music. Is that weird?
Bed music.
Yeah, that's what they call it in the industry. Bed music. Oh, and faded out.
Jiving.
Oh, now I feel naked that we have. we're
I liked it.
We're so.
Well, it sounded quite professional. The intro.
Don't sound so surprised when you say that. I'm telling you, we're going to be radio broadcasters. Okay, technology. So I'm gonna. So no, people don't get confused. We're going to split this up into 3 parts: a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we're going to start with old tech, the past, current tech, our software, future tech. Bill's going to look into his crystal ball.
I like that.
We're going to end on what are Bill and Ben going to live like in 2100? That's what we're going to end on.
2100.
Yeah. Interesting, that ties in incredibly well with the B1M, who I'm a big fan of, their YouTube channel. They've just literally in my email, what is it like to be in a city in 2100? I wish I'd watched that before we had our little talk.
No, this is good because you can see if it verifies what your prognosis is.
Interesting. So there is literally a B1M video. If you listen to this, listen to that afterwards and see if we're right.
Okay.
And maybe Fred's wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Who is he to tell us we're
And
wrong?
also, no one's wrong about the future. That's the beauty of talking about it.
Are you right about the future?
We're all right.
You're implying that you're right.
I saw some images of what they thought the future would be like, and it's brilliant. And it's like, I wish we'd done it. You know, it had green streets, everything was subterranean.
Yeah.
Like, imagining it isn't the hard bit. It's persuading everyone to actually do it that seems to be the challenge.
See, I'm also big. I'm up for getting rid of all cars in London. That would be
Let's do
amazing.
it.
Is that controversial? We're going to get a brick through the window from taxi drivers.
No, what people want, I think, is they don't want automated vehicle. Well, what I want maybe is
There we go. There we go.
But like, don't have automated vehicles. You just don't want vehicles. And actually, what everyone thinks AVs, as we call them,
In
are
the
going to be
industry.
used are
Autonomous vehicles for you. that don't know what it
around
is.
the edge of London. So lots of people are coming in from East London to the centre of London to go and see their friend in Acton, because that's how you do it. What you really want to do is just go round and go to Acton. And so let's use AVs for that last weird half-mile trip from Acton to my friend's house, rather than from Soho to...
I feel like you're going to say something rude then. Okay, fine. I'm excited and I'm a bit giddy and I'm trying to calm myself down.
Tech.
Ooh, woosah.
Yeah.
I had a few. I just thought I'd touch on a few things that tech has not been kind to me today.
Okay.
I'm going. If you're a user of the email program Outlook, you'll be aware that they have a. What's the email? If you send an email and you're desperately trying to retract it, what's it called? Retract email. Anyway, I will keep the details very loose. I sent an email.
There's nothing juicier than when someone tries to recall an email. You have to open it as quickly as possible.
So I thought I was sending an email to someone internally, and I sent it to someone externally. Probably an email I probably shouldn't have sent. And I tried.
In fact, discussing the very thing.
It couldn't have been
Yeah.
a less good email to send out. Luckily, I recalled it. He saw that and rang me instantly and had a very awkward conversation.
Had he read the...
He was
beautiful.
like, "Don't worry, I'll keep it to myself," and it was very embarrassing. A while, this is probably about 3 years ago, I sent an email to a consultant and I embarrassed myself, and I forwarded on an embarrassing comment that I wrote about him, and my friend was like, "Are you aware who was copied into the email?" And he sent me a screenshot. He'd photoshopped his name into it, and I thought, I learned a lesson that one day, and I've never sent a bad email apart from today. So
But
that
that's
is
good. No, that's when you were like time rich at work and
Do
you
you know
could
when-
spend the time like playing elaborate pranks. I remember when, this will take you back. But talking about retro technology, we like Snake on the Nokia and the high scores. And a friend of mine took a picture of his phone and photoshopped it to send it to us as this new Snake high score. I mean, now you just do a screen grab and send it, but he took an actual photo with a camera of not a Nokia 2310, photoshopped it. I mean, that's a labour-intensive technology.
Dedication.
Yeah.
I like it, but that's how it should be. I like that. We're also so we're going to talk about future tech, and I know autonomous vehicles are coming out, and Dyson is a big player, and we'll come on to that.
Dyson?
Dyson, yeah, they do autonomous vehicles. They're going to. Do you not know that?
The Hoover Company.
James.
Yeah.
James Dyson. They are going to bring an autonomous vehicle to 2022, and I wrote down here. I don't know how to say it. You may have to bleep parts of this out, Ben, because it's amusing.
Right.
But I like the fact you bleep it out. Do you remember when we got the Dyson Airblade into our office?
There was a right kerfuffle.
Yeah. This is what is ubiquitous. Is that a word? In every single toilet in any tool building or petrol station. Anyway, we got an advanced sample into the office and everyone was very excited to use it. And you came out and our two directors were there and you just said with this completely straight face, my problem is I just can't get my into it at the same time. And they had this look on their face of like, you just walked off and it was absolutely priceless. I don't know how you're going to bleep that bit. But their faces was absolutely brilliant. Anyway, okay, we're going to keep to our hour schedule this time, aren't we? Because we indulged last week, didn't we?
We did, but it was all right.
It was good. It was good.
It was good.
We're gonna go on history. I'm gonna take it back a notch, back to black and white times when we both in our 30s. When we joined, technology has changed quite substantially since we've been in the industry, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, my very first practice, and I'm not that old.
No, but it's nice to remember.
But they put the post on the table as you came in to the office so that you could see all the correspondence that had happened between the consultants over the weekend. So it was kind of like a group email now. But you could see that, that's pretty mad.
Do you not think that's I just think the way that we used to work, because when my first company...
There was bits of it that was just, there were bits of it that was so good. That was quite parochial, but my original mentor and great friend, a guy called Anthony Blee, he had a contraption. When you had a physical model that was sitting on a table, he had this Victorian sort of inverted periscope. Open the case, and it was like a long brass tube. And you'd then stand it within the model and look down through it, and it would project up the view as if you were kind of walking down the street of the model to sort of locate you in the...
Wow.
I know. It's absolutely brilliant.
They don't really have an equivalent of that right now, do they?
No.
I don't know.
That's amazing.
Bill's big idea. Have that.
There you go.
Hashtag, can you find... All right, we're going to put that on Twitter. Find an image of what you're talking about. That sounds absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Like a periscope.
Yeah.
Like a tiny little periscope.
Yeah, like a reverse one, though. So you could make just a few bits of mass of street. It was amazing.
So good. Because my first practice, so this wasn't my first one during... this is the first practice I went to when I was maybe 18. My mum got me like a week's work experience at a practice she knew. My only job was to fold drawings the last 2 days. I was only there for a week. Everyone
the
loved
last 2
it.
days, after 5 days,
After,
they're like...
yeah,
I reckon we just get him to fold.
Yeah, he is incapable. But they had...
I've tried everything else, literally.
He just
Nothing goes
will
in.
not
Won't leave.
And they
He's
had...
Giesler's son, but Christ, it's been a long week.
They actually had an old plotter. We call them plotters now. They're actually just printers. An original plotter that you had pens that went in, and like an Etch-a-Sketch, and it would draw things on. They had one of those. They didn't use it, but that wasn't that old ago. And anyway, I had to fold drawings for 2 days, and we had to send out 300 drawings. Everyone just sat down. Everyone was all happy they'd finished the project. Now you work flat out until Friday night at 9 o'clock, send it, you get comments back on Monday morning the second you walk in. Before, you used to have 2 weeks before they commented, have to open all the drawings. The good old days.
Yeah, freeze the design, let's make a model for the next one. Yeah, stick on the radio. Have a good time.
I don't know if I missed the good old days, but I did. There's a rhythm to it. There's a beginning and then an end, and you have a gap. Whereas now it's like, bam, you finish it, 1,000-page document, uploaded, emailed, straight away, back comments. You're like,
Yeah. Were they the good old days? I'm sure anyone that properly worked them would say it was infuriating. You can only do one. You got one bite at the cherry.
Yeah.
If the structural engineers, things didn't fit, basically forget it.
Going back to our architecture school podcast, episode number 1, you should listen to it. It's great. We were talking about first year, and in my first year, you weren't allowed to use any technology. You had to hand draw everything. Everything had to be with pens, and you weren't allowed to use CAD. And I don't know if you had this experience, and I'm sure everyone maybe pre-computer 2D, if you smudged the pen as you were drawing it, you had to scrape it off. Oh my God.
Yeah. So you just take your eye off it, or move the. It was more like sliding the ruler away when you finished the line. No, people would keep. I mean, this was slightly before my day, admittedly, but you'd keep the drawings in these kind of spines that would sit on the end of the desk, and they were highly valuable.
Yeah.
You know, and not just us, people that did kind of aircraft landing sequences. They were all manual drawings, incredibly high value. Like, I've got the blueprints, was this kind of code for this very valuable piece of code, the nucleus.
Yeah.
No, it's like, as you've printed a drawing, someone just scribbles on it, not like that. And they're not artifacts in any way. They're just sort of entirely disposable.
Because we're trying to, at our practice, we're trying to have a paperless office, but that is the goal. They were coming up to...
it's never going to work. You can't see mistakes on
It's so true, yeah, because we have, how big are our screens? Probably the same as in the background, 25, 24-inch screens. You print an A0 drawing, which is 850 mil, massive. You don't realise how many little mistakes there are until you print an A0 drawing at A0, and you're like... But that costs money. That is, we printed out a stage 3 document for our client. It cost £3,500 to print everything. That is a lot of money.
Wow.
Everything in full colour, full bleed, because it's so unusual now. You're like, what, you want to print everything? Why?
Yeah, I think I know a guy in Bethnal Green that'll do that for you. Yeah.
We've got a 1,000-page mechanical and engineering document. You really want it printed? Oh yeah, and bound, high quality paper. You are never looking at that
Really?
document.
Just for his mum.
Yeah. And I think one of the many fun parts about working at Big Practice is we try and make more things efficient all of the time, and technology is a big driver. We do. It's efficient.
So efficient.
And I think current technology, I'm not going to say how many pieces of software because it's going to be a question later, but we're a software company. We've said this last week. We're architects, but we were talking this week about how it's not the software you use, it's the story you're trying to tell. That's basically your premise from last week. I remember one of the comments you said was something about storytelling, and I
think I might have been quite sanctimonious last week. I think slightly of my high horse about some of those things. But yeah,
I thought last week's episode was really good. You didn't.
I thought it was good. I thought it was good.
Come on, you're in the nest. Come on.
I thought I'd been overly. I think I'd been quite bossy. I thought I'd let my views run roughshod over your innocence.
But that's why this podcast is great.
Oh, okay.
We've
All
both
right.
got views.
Reveals the real you.
Yeah, we're both in our
Yeah,
30s,
there's nowhere to hide. Maybe I am just that cantankerous in real life. No, I thought it was good. Telling the story is right. And we use loads of bits of software, but not to their full extent. That's what I'm always thinking is some of them wouldn't only have to improve slightly to make loads more completely obsolete. So, I don't know, you have Revit and you've got Rhino for double curvature. What do you really need, like Rhino and AutoCAD and MicroStation? And we do, how much is it user error or their lack of capacity to upgrade? We use Photoshop just to brighten a few images and then stick it in InDesign. Well, surely InDesign has got the capacity just to like brighten image and it seems weird that we still use so much. And one of our big ideas this week was have a kind of co-working space.
Oh, I like this. Bill's big idea. This is how. Let me do that. This is great. This is a big idea.
I want a jingle. Ultimately.
Okay. So I'm not going to let you just blurt this out. This is huge. Okay, we're onto. So this is part of our current tech zone, but this is Bill's big idea. It's not a jingle, guys.
Insert jingle there.
It's you try it. You say it. You've got a much bassier voice.
Bill's big idea.
Yes, I'm going to keep right on the back. So, is co-working kind of coming to its end? Maybe. Is it still rising? Pro-working, which is the new co-working, where it's not sort of so much like a fraternity and there isn't beer on tap. How about an architectural co-working space, but we provide all the software and all the tech. And when I run one of our kind of smaller studios overseas, it's fixing the server and updating software, all that pain. You just have a kind of co-working style space, But it's agile working, but you don't even bring your own PC. You just turn up, log in. You're allowed to use all these expensive softwares that you normally couldn't afford, or you'd have to use fraudulent copies of. You work for a bit, log out, go home. You've just paid for what you've used. I'm sure the big companies software companies.
So who
love
would this
that.
be aimed for?
The average architecture firm in the UK is 3 people.
Is it?
Yeah, and that means there are loads of sole practitioners and a few big boys. You know,
So they're spending thousands on licenses and they can just
or,
go and...
or not, and and
Oh,
it's
right,
like,
yeah.
well, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know, but if I was a sole practitioner, buying the full Adobe suite and this and that and that.
I mean, this
It's
is an
crazy.
extension of what's happening at the moment with like WeWork and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Co-working spaces. Maybe just provide like a little room in the back for architects or for who.
I like
whoever.
Bill's face. He's like, not like we work.
No, not like
This
WeWork.
is totally different to we work.
Oh.
No, it's like WeWork, but it's almost like a kind of commune for architects. That it's exactly like WeWork, but you might go and be a sole practitioner. They seem to think that we're going to work. You're going to have a main job and a sub job, and you're going to be way more self-employed, and you're going to sell your own pictures, and you're going to have a plum tree and make your own, and all everyone's going to be much more pluralist in the future. So actually,
Stop. What does pluralist mean? You've said a word I don't understand.
having many different revenue streams or interests. So,
Nice, okay.
You could be an architect and an urbanist and a magistrate and a painter. All of these things. and then-
Diversification of your skills.
Yeah. And so then I might log into my architectural WeWork, go in, somehow win a job that's maybe slightly too big for me, and there are lots of other architects there, and I could kind of say, oh, look, you're all kind of freelancing. Will you help me for a month do this? Or I'm going to enter this competition and I'll cover the overheads and I'll pay you and you can join me, and you kind of create a swell for a particular project, and it's a much more sort of agile and lightweight way, and everyone's self-employed, and I think that'd be a good idea.
I love it. We've had a lot of ideas together, and this feels like a really good one that maybe people are going to be like, do you know what?
Are we going to have to edit it?
Yeah.
Edit it.
Okay.
bleep
So
that whole thing out.
let's just
If
bleep
it-
this whole.
Do you know what? If you would like to sign up to that, a sort of monthly desk space that provides both the hardware and the software and a coffee machine, hashtag Bill's Big Idea.
Bill's big idea. Yeah.
And I will make it happen for us if
Ben?
there are enough of you.
Are you in? How much money are you going to invest?
Come
Come on, seriously.
I'll buy a desk. Yeah.
We were hoping for more
Yeah,
enthusiasm.
we
Yeah.
He doesn't know how much a desk is yet.
Yeah. As you're the first person, there's a pretty high buy. I think it's really good because one of the things that I'm fascinated, and I've only just started using because I work from home every now and again, is we use a software called Citrix. I'd never heard of it before until I started using it. But essentially, you log in, and it's just it's almost like a video feed to your computer. It still feels like you're using all the normal software. But so, for example, there's a library in Worcester where I go and work if I work from home. It's really good. They're really basic, super basic computers, really slow, but the internet browser works. So I'm on my internet browser spinning Revit models around of a really big skyscraper, and there's people walking past my screen like, how the hell are you doing that on that computer? Because you don't need
Do
any...
you not have a computer at home?
It's a brand new library with amazing facilities, and I'm just get distracted at home. And I'm eating crisps again. I said crisps, didn't I? I said crisps. And one time I was on the phone to a client, and my son walked in and just pressed the flashing button on my computer, which happened to be the power button. What are you doing,
can
Daddy?
see that, I
Chunk.
can
And
see
I was
that.
like, oh, yeah, no, my computer's frozen for a second. Get lost. So, but I
it's
think
good,
it's
and
amazing.
that's a good. I'm glad people use public libraries, probably
Yeah.
just for that kind of thing.
And lots of homeless people and the libraries on. Who knew? But that's an aside. It's very good. It's great. But the Citrix idea is one that is also used.
So the idea of Citrix is, just for anyone that doesn't know it, is that all the processing power of the computer and the software sits somewhere, i.e. in your office,
It's a much better explanation.
and all
than I
you're
should give.
doing is dialing in to use that computer remotely via. So all you're just seeing the video output of that computer. So
All you need is a good Wi-Fi connection. You don't need a powerful computer. Literally any computer can run it. It's so bizarre because when you're at uni, you need a powerful computer to do renders.
Yeah.
Now you just hit the render button and watch your little laptop.
So are you saying
fire.
my brilliant idea I don't need to do a co-working space. I could just have a sort of Citrix style.
Yeah.
It could be a remote operation.
Evolution of that idea.
Yeah, yours is much better than the software that already exists, obviously, and WeWork, I'm sure, probably.
Sounds like my idea's been done.
No. Hashtag has Bill's idea been done. But I do think there's going to be... So I walked past PC World last night and they've put an enormous gaming PC thing in the front. And a big thing is going to be you just get a computer with a good Wi-Fi connection, you pay 20 quid a month and you have a supercomputer that you can play any computer game on your iPad, iPhone. It's all just streamed to your phone. I think it's going to change a lot. But I do think that there's architecture students that listen to this podcast as well. So whilst we would like to cater for the higher brow and get the interesting people, brain churning, there's also a lot of people who genuinely don't know what programs big architecture practices use. And I don't know how you were at uni, but what were your programs you used at uni? What were your...
AutoCAD, but we were just on the cusp where half the people were... We'd huddle around the wireless, listening to news from the Royal Institute.
We just heard VHS was coming out and we were very excited.
The PAMI tapes had just gone online. We were on the cusp of most people drawing and a few people doing CAD. And then by the third year, most people were doing CAD. Some were doing these incredible renders and some people were drawing it. And there was this big thing of loads of people in the middle like me producing not very attractive computer work because they thought it would help prepare them for practice. Which I guess it did, but it was ugly. It was early days. We had no control over it. It was just clunky. And hand drawings, there's so much in them, and that to this day we still use them loads to describe things and drawing in front of people and the speed. So I was just right on that cusp. But by the time we got to work, it was fully automated and actually then you learn it because you're just using it every day and you've got to make loads of changes, but learning it on your own back then was a labor of love. And
it was intense because I think we use predominantly Rhino. That was because that's such a, and if you don't know, that is it's called NURBS modeling, but the point is you can do really flexible, curvy, blobby shapes, anything you want, whereas traditionally CAD packages just do like very angular
and
things.
It's really good Rhino at like extracting information. So when you're doing manufacturing information or unfolding designs, it's really good at all of that. And it's quite cool and it looks good.
It's a super visual based piece of software. And the reason I struggle with Revit, and we had a moan about this last week, is it's like using an Excel table, but in software. I mean, it does amazing things, but you have to know the word for everything you're using, whereas Rhino is much more kind of open like that. But I think one of the reasons we use so much software at our practice is because we hire part ones, and part ones, different unis use different pieces of software. And there's such a diverse range of softwares that we used to use, but it seems to be narrowing down a lot. I think a lot of unis are now realizing the industry is moving to Revit, therefore learn Revit. Like Revit wasn't even, I'd never heard anyone use Revit in my school, and then we came to uni and it was like, well, we're going to start using it. Bleep that out. There you go, bleep those out.
And it's taken over the thing that seems to happen with tech, whether it's cybersecurity or a piece of software or a car design software. If you're source of the best, you just take the whole market, and like MicroStation and AutoCAD's been bought and integrated into Revit. Everything else just kind of loses it. I get slightly worried when I've got an app on my phone that you just open it, point the camera into the corners of your room and the windows, and it generates all the plans. It's called Planet, and it's $3.99, and I've generated all the plans for my house to describe to Andy, the decorator, what I want to. And you're thinking, how far away from a planning application is that going to be soon for a residential? You could just go outside your house, take some photos or a video, and it kind of makes some assumptions, and then you just correct it with your fingers, say no, not let. And then you've got the existing, and you just say, planning application drawings are quite straightforward. You say white, timber. They're as neutral as possible to describe the impact. I think the tech is going in a very user
Well,
Friendly,
I
right?
totally agree because, well, in a kind of a different way, about 2 years ago, they had a drone with a Microsoft Kinect, which is like an infrared depth sensing sensors. 'Cause they're quite old technology now, and they had a big drone, and they flew it into a destroyed building, and it literally mapped. It just kept flying around until it hadn't seen any parts. And within an hour, they had a millimeter color rendition of a destroyed building that had fallen down in an earthquake. But they're developing that now for surveying. You know, you just send a drone
Like
in.
a Quidditch.
Yeah, literally that simple. And it's like, I mean, we've had a few of these and they're so heavy, they're almost impossible to use. But
cloud survey.
yeah, they're like 20 gigabytes and your computer can't handle them. But you farm that out to a foreign CAD company and they draw it for you. It's really good. But the technology is kind of increasing at such a pace. But I know you're desperate to get into future tech.
No, I'm not.
But I'm going to do
I like past tech, the glory days.
Yeah, I know, the good old days.
When you could describe it, people had faith in the profession. They'd give you a check in advance just to keep you happy.
But I do think that I wanted to go through the software that we use just quickly, and then I want to ask Ben, because I went through it. I went through on our Citrix thing. But anyway, on a day-to-day thing, I would say we use email all the time. Excel, Word, fine. We also use MicroStation. We also use Revit. We then go in to do some 3D modeling. Maybe we want to do a facade test. You use Rhino. You then use
3ds Max.
3ds Max to do a render. You might use V-Ray as part of Rhino or Revit. You might use Grasshopper, which is a plugin for Rhino, which does these crazy software things. You might use Dynamo for Revit. And then on top of that, once you've done all the design work, you then put that into Photoshop to get the images to look right. You spend a couple of hours in Photoshop making an image, put trees in. You then put that into InDesign. You then need to get a few lines right. You put it into Illustrator. You then get all that ready. You then export it. You then use all our cloud-based distribution software. And it's like, we use a lot of software in a day. That is not unusual to use each one of those in a week. And I just think for small practices, going back to your Bill's big idea, that's actually an enormous outlay for something you might only use once a month.
Yeah, and the cost, but also updating them all, making sure they're all working properly. Something like a big file sharing, the quite complicated ones that are dealing with big issues. You don't use them every day, so you might forget about it for a month and then you come back. We've also got all of our timesheeting, invoicing,
Hang on,
expenses, all of that.
And then we've got all the VR software we use, like Unity, and then we've got the plugins for Rhino,
Unreal,
Lumion, Enscape, which are all plugins for Revit. You've then got the VR guys. You've then got the model shop guys. You have to export models into their shrink wrap thing to put in the 3D prototype.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff to use.
But is that? I'd be interested how much other people's industries have changed as well. So lawyers, for example, it used to be about having a encyclopedic knowledge of case law, and the best lawyers are the ones that could quickly reference all these cases. But that's all going to AI, that recall. So how is that being searched? Is it just a single database? Do they, even being a lawyer, you're using Word and Outlook and Excel and legal specific stuff. So I think, yes, we use a lot, but are we kind of unique? I imagine if you're product design, you're doing all those that we're doing, plus more graphics, any kind of manufacturing. I mean, you go around like the Rolls-Royce Derby factory or something like that. Yeah. That's hybrid. They're probably writing their own software to run certain machines in a certain way. So we're not really mining any of the engineering-y stuff. So in that sense.
But I think because we obviously integrate, so Revit's our centralized model, but then we work with structural engineers, and those guys use one specific piece of software. Because I've been over there, they have, if you're doing a skyscraper, for example, I don't know what they call it, they do the structure, and then they literally go through a structural engineering and they work out how a fire in one part of the building would mess with the structure, if it would collapse, how it collapses, and you just watch it do all these thousands of calculations it's absolutely incredible. And then they do the same with like earthquakes or fire or moving a column, making it more efficient.
It's a slightly off step here, but I saw a guy talk the other day about greenery up high. So the big move now is to make vertical cities, greenery over facades, and he had just a lot of videos of trees of various sizes with different root balls being blown by wind until they broke or the point of failure. And it's this sort of really exciting video of this wobbling tree getting further and further, and this whole kind of auditorium is like bracing themselves for the time this like silver birch just snapped into.
But that's great. I
It's good
think
TV.
there's magic to watching technology work seamlessly, and I don't know whether it, it's like I would say that Rhino and Grasshopper have been something that maybe we've disappeared too far down the parametric thing. You can do amazing things with it.
Have we come
Probably
back
not
from
gonna
that?
do it.
We've come
Yeah, I
back
think
like the glory days of
The good old days.
parametric architecture and facades, sort of meshes exploding into the ground plane, and I like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I was raised on that, and the Zahas and the.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think has stayed to this day is that those buildings are so complicated that they're so expensive. We're in a kind of bit of an age of austerity. They just don't get built now. But things that I do like is that you can make these crazy shapes in Rhino and then slice them up and then use a laser cutter out of wood, and then it will make 2D planes and you bolt them all together. And you get these really, really beautiful sculptural elements that are not that expensive to build in flat planes, but to work out the geometry is incredibly complicated. So there's a lot of that still hanging around. But Monsieur Ben, how many pieces of software is it the same in the graphics
Not
industry?
nearly as much as you guys. No, it's just Adobe InDesign.
Adobe have
Illustrator.
wrapped up that industry, haven't they? I mean, they have cornered that whole thing. haven't
They have no competitors. Yeah.
No,
It's kinda-
there's nothing, because Adobe CC is what, 50 programs now? It's crazy.
No, yeah. I don't use half of them though. I only use InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator. Kind of the only ones that you use.
What about I open Bridge by mistake when I'm in a hurry?
Yeah, that's
Quite a
the
lot.
thing.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
I would love to know how many people have clicked Bridge
Oh,
and gone, no, not Bridge.
yeah,
No.
the guy
About 99%
Yeah.
of people.
Do you think the guy that's designed Bridge being like, see, another guy? Oh no, oh, no, he's closed
shut
it.
up.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like when we used to pick
Listen
up our
to-
phones and you call the operator by accident. You're like, oh, no, sorry. And the operator's just there. No, that was the one person that's going to talk to me. But because what are there any competitors to Adobe?
Not
What-
really.
Is there something
no.
called Quark? Did I make that up?
Yeah, that was around before Adobe, but that's like before my time.
Oh, God, that's a
sort
long
of-
time ago, isn't it?
Oh, come on, Ben.
Oh,
Silly.
God, back with VHS and things.
Talking about technology with my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've changed
It's-
all the business model.
yeah.
It's all like monthly rent now. It's not that we did this ever, but I've heard people used to pirate software. Not that we've ever
Not
done
that-
that.
not that
No,
any of us
God
do
no.
that, no.
And I know there's no students that
You're
pirate
only
software.
defrauding yourself.
No,
in the long run, Ben.
exactly. You're only cheating the system. But Rhino, I think, got so popular because they just made it so easy to pirate. Not that
think
I did that.
That was the same with Photoshop as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, it just got. I mean, everyone just pirated it, but then they
not,
tried to.
not you, obviously.
Obviously not me,
us,
no.
but people.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the ruse. Anything you use in uni, you come into work and they ask you to do something.
There's
you do
a
that as
wider
quickly as possible.
technology issue here about
Do you say issue or issue? Because if you say issue, we're not going to be friends.
issue.
Okay, good.
There's a famous lift manufacturer that came up with a system that was sort of better than all of its competitors, as in it was working faster, so you could put it into a building. No one chose it because you'd have to decide quite early to go with that system, and then it meant that there were you'd committed early, and they kind of had you over a barrel. So by being market leaders, they sort of shot themselves in the foot. So the best thing you can do is almost share the technology,
Definitely.
have competitors, compete with them, and then be the best because you've got a slight head start.
Yeah.
Because you can kind
Yeah.
of prevent
I mean-
people from using it, and a lot of people don't register. They don't want to register technologies because they're then registered and they're online, and someone can lift them. The best thing you can
Definitely.
do with technology, like original technology, is just quietly use it and not make a big fuss.
Just get
It's
to the
so
market first.
it's so easy to compete in the software industry, and I just remember you talking last week about OpenDesk and how they're sort of just
At tedious length, if I remember.
right.
correctly.
Yeah.
Whoa, come on. Last week's episode was great,
I'm all right. I'm
guys.
out of my funk.
I mean, just quickly as an aside, Lucy did tell us to remove some of the flab from the episode, and that was the longest we've done by 20 minutes.
that's
So
good.
let's just cut this whole section.
Yeah,
of me
and
Well,
we've
talking
got the
don't-
then.
timer on.
the
Look,
only
guys, we're already 35 minutes in.
The only,
So
she did say, I was listening to it played back in the kitchen. She said, I'm bloody sick of that man's voice. And I was like, she's like, I hear Ben on a Wednesday night through the floorboards. The last thing I need is to hear him on a Saturday morning. So there you go.
Well, if you can hear me.
Special shout out.
Oh, no, she is far too good to you.
Yeah, well, she was going to cook a fish pie tonight, and that didn't happen. So
That's a good point, actually. Noted. That's going on the comments. Hashtag where's my fish pie?
Speaking of a hashtag, can we name check our?
Yeah. Twitter.
We
A
had
little
it. We
check-in.
had
Yeah.
a.
This is our competition, right?
We have so many Twitter followers, and our first Twitter follower was a man called Andy Foster, who's a micro adventurer, an architect, a supporter of young architects, and he tweets sort of aspirational quotes about feeling good about yourself and not letting poor designs get you down, and how to be the best architect you can. And he is a good guy, so we're following him, and I'm retweeting him. Andy,
What's his name again?
Andy Foster at Foster Architects.
Is it?
It's not. I'm pretty sure at Foster Architects. He's the other famous Foster architect.
F-Dog, our new best mate. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Just as a little aside, Ben was eating crisps and I dialed his microphone down. You are not eating crisps on this podcast ever
It's
again.
muted now.
Yeah, okay. You're
They
back.
sound
You're
good,
back
though.
online.
If you're
Yeah.
going to eat anything,
But it's great. Good for him. Good for him.
and we've had a.
Do you reckon he's like, oh God, unfollow them? That's so embarrassing. First Twitter follower.
It makes me look so hungry.
And we've got a couple of cool architects. Who have we got? Murdov.
Well, we've got Rumjum.
Rumjum, that was it.
You know, they're a big international studio, so that was amazing. And you've been tweeting Elon Musk.
Yeah. Can we mark this down as if he ever responds as the greatest thing that's ever happened to us?
I got a bit excited because so he then replied, Elon Musk News started following us. But I think that's a sort of fan-based website. I'm assuming a slightly mocking Elon Musk.
No,
Twitter.
I think they're hard-hitting. I think that's probably better than Elon Musk.
This Twitter feed features quotes and news from Elon Musk. So
We're news. You know, someone tweeted him. I bet no one tweets Elon Musk. He's probably not that
he
famous.
might call them a pedo if you tweet. Yeah. That's what happened to the last sorry guy that dared to tweet him.
I've
directly.
met Elon Musk and I didn't realise who he was when.
Hang on.
Hang
Yeah.
on.
Hang on, whoa.
Yeah.
This is like when I said I got nominated to that for Warden Digging. When I say met, I meant I was within a meter and I listened to him talk and I said hi.
I would say I
Is
met
that met?
someone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good story.
That
yeah,
is-
definitely met.
Tell us
yeah.
what happened. That's incredible.
Tesla opened the superstore at Stratford, the Tesla shop, and this was probably 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. I'd never heard of him. I never heard of Tesla.
Never heard of Stratford.
And I went there, and they had free alcohol and free food, and I didn't behave myself very
So
well.
did Elon probably.
Yeah.
He probably smoked a huge
Yeah.
bone behind me.
Yeah, and me and
Hang
my
on,
best
what
friend
was-
went, and I thought, what an awful speaker. He's just, he wasn't very good. He looked all confused as, hang on, there's a new person in the room.
To Elon Musk.
We're back in the game.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
we're
back
back.
in the game on Elon Musk, and we're also going to cut out my awkward joke. Yeah, that's gone.
That's good. It's better to say. So I'm interested in what I'm going to say, Sharper, you are a slightly different generation. What you think of Elon Musk? Because he's either a sort of megalomaniac Bond villain joke, or he's an inspiration. What's your
I
take?
mean, everyone loves him, so you kind of have to be skeptical about why that is. a
Everyone
little
loves
bit.
him.
I love him.
I think I
Do
don't
I
think
love him?
that's true.
Not anymore.
I would say in the last year he's gone down.
He's
I think, a little
gone.
bit.
He's gone downhill after that whole incident with the boys getting stuck in a cave and him trying to like save the day.
Yeah, with
And,
the submarine, and then when they
stupid,
said
yeah.
it's too small for a submarine,
It's
he's like,
ridiculous, yeah.
"Screw you guys," and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
a pedo.
I know.
That was big.
I'm no media expert, but I would say he could have handled that better. I think.
yeah.
I think you're right.
In hindsight.
Must
But
have
also, I heard him on Joe Rogan, and he was just quite annoying. He kept saying, "We dug a pit in the pit, we dug a pit," and he kept saying this really annoying word
Yeah.
over and over again.
Mm.
If he's listening, though, really love your work, love to have him on the show.
But I think it's easy. I always go track back to this thing. It's easy to like take the Mickey.
Yeah.
But he's come out with some big ideas and done them, and is pushing the whole conversation forward while being slightly
I
annoying. I'm
totally
sure,
agree.
but he's
I don't think Ben's voice could go deep enough to say Elon's big idea, because he's got some big ideas and he's really ran with it. I mean, the guy landed a space rocket on a with a drone on a
You got to
drone
respect
ship.
the guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got some kahunas on him, that's for sure. And he also he has a dream and he does kind of follow through. I mean, a Tesla's cool still as a car. I think other car manufacturers.
You've been in one, haven't you?
we had a moment.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
It's a
you-
name drop.
We,
Oh.
no,
Yeah,
no,
it's
I
a
thought
name drop,
that.
but
not a
just
name
leave
drop.
it at that.
We
Is this like your Eric Parry story?
Oh, Eric, if you're listening, I know you said you would, but I love One Undershaft. I think it could be one of your finest.
Anyway,
Very
go on.
excited.
You've been in Tesla.
No, we went on a holiday, a romantic trip, no kids. And when we arrived in Venice,
Down
With
chicka
just
wow
no
wow.
kids. Sounded like naked.
we never get naked. That doesn't happen. Once you've been together a while, which is good, refreshing.
Although this was pre-kids.
This was it pre-kids? And we arrived in Italy, and this guy picked us up in a Tesla, and then he said, I was sort of looking at the buttons, and there's got a big iPad on the front, and he just said, basically got out into the passenger seat and let it drive through all these Italian villages, completely unaided.
What, without anyone in the
It was
in the
like,
seat?
no hands,
Yeah.
no hands.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
and
God,
we
terrifying.
were terrified. And we were like giddy. Or it was like we'd flown into
I
the
can
future.
attest to that because I was in San Francisco this summer and just driving down the highway and saw I just turned to my left and like saw some guy, and no joke, he was asleep at the wheel. And he was in one of these
God.
Teslas, and I was like, "This cannot be true." I've just,
I think that's
just
a more
landed.
exciting
Yeah.
tale.
Yeah, I've just walked into Total Recall, basically.
There's
Yeah.
a really
Back to the
funny
future. It's not perhaps
Yeah.
for me.
there's a really funny video of a guy who's trying to cheat the parking system in New York, and he's leaning out of his window and just reversing his Tesla between two parking spots every 2 hours to stop himself from getting a parking ticket and doing it all remotely. And like that's
brilliant.
the
That's
future.
genius.
That's the future, isn't it? Will he respond to my tweet, do you think?
He's sort of mad enough.
I thought
He's
it was
the sort of James Blunt of Twitter. That
He
the
likes
sort
getting into Twitter
He
arguments. So
loves
then,
that. You'd
if
have
you,
to say something like,
if you say something controversial to him,
Yeah.
call him out.
But what? Hang on. I
"Oh
thought,
my God!" As we've said,
No, no.
Elon Musk news has just
Oh
tweeted.
no, no, really. I thought you were about to say Elon Musk then.
No,
So
Elon, if he's listening to this, hasn't even gone out live.
No.
but he knows.
He knows. He
He
can hear
knows.
it. His spies are everywhere.
There is a sort of
So I tweeted Elon Musk. I was like, "How long would it take? Can you money no object? Can you build a hyperloop from London to New York?" Asking for a friend, and I hashtagged in Norman Foster. But I thought that was funny. I thought if he's going to respond to something, it might be that.
he might come back and say,
What a tool,
when do you want it by?"
pedo.
Like the British. I know what you are like. Why
Lucy, do we have to bleep that out? That's fine, isn't
Pedo.
it? Yeah.
No.
Well, you can't just say
Not
it. All right,
you
we're
as
not in the
well.
nest now. You can't just yell it.
It's a
Come
late
on.
night
You
podcast.
can bleep mine up.
I
Hang on,
think-
what did it say? What did the Twitter thing say?
I don't think it relates directly to us. I mean, it's just we're in the inner circle now. There's something about him that is Bond villain-esque. You know, that sort of friendly businessman you come across at the start of, or the first half an hour of an old Bond film that turns out to be kind of Zorin Enterprises or something.
Yeah.
There's something about that Elon. He's good because he's trans-governmental. He's just...
He can literally get anything done. It's
How
ridiculous.
old is he?
Probably in his 30s.
No,
I
he's
don't
he's in his 40s because he had like a hair transplant as well.
Oh,
he's
it's
going
a
bald,
very
but he
successful
looks
one as well.
younger.
Have
Yeah.
you seen
Of
from
course
20
it would be
years ago?
successful.
Amazing.
He's going to live till he's 1,000, though, so it's worth getting those hairs transplanted.
I'm conscious that I don't want to run
Yeah.
over our hour mark.
Very
Okay,
good.
so I'm going to go through higher or lower. I had a question that I was going to cut out actually, but it's so topical. I thought I might do it. Okay, so this is higher or lower. Can we record a jingle for that later? So maybe next episode, higher or lower. Okay, fine.
Isn't there a song?
Higher or lower. No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
A real
Just
song.
saying.
You have to pay royalties. We'll do a
Oh,
jingle.
yes, point.
I can't sing. You were singing earlier. I wish we had that on the podcast radio. Yeah, maybe we'll do that afterwards and cut it in on the secret. Okay, so higher or lower, just for your friend. What's his name? Just call him
My
out.
mate. I'm not going to shout him out. But just for his, yeah.
Okay, I was going to cut this question out because it's a silly question, but we were just talking about hair. I'm going to start with this is the first question. Okay, you can cut this out. How many hairs on Lord Foster's head? That was question number one.
Oh, solid, like a solid monkish hoop.
No, it's 0. You were incorrect. Where's my? Hang on, I don't have my effects thing. Pass me my effects thing. Okay, I
No,
wasn't.
Sid likes
I
that.
wasn't gonna. I wasn't gonna put that question in, but you did ask. Okay, right. So anyway, your favorite thing about future technology is drones, which will come on after this quiz because Bill does these render competitions, and there's always a drone flying around, isn't there?
They're not render competitions, they're architectural competitions.
Whatever. Stick a drone in it. Pipe down. Right. What's the maximum weight? What's the maximum capacity currently a drone can lift?
Any drone,
Any drone. Biggest drone that you've got. What's the maximum weight it can lift? In
100
kilogram.
kilos.
Not even close. 12. That's the most they can do. It's all right. You won't know.
Barely your hand, Bill.
Yeah.
We had an
Slim
awkward
Jim,
wait.
sorry, Slim
We had an awkward weight incident earlier in the week.
What, you have a heavy hand?
Mm.
No. He has a heavy physique.
Oh.
He's heavy.
Hang on.
set.
Let's stop this quiz. Let's. I think we should entertain this more.
I stood on our scales and I'd lost 2.5 kilos, and I went into work and told all my colleagues about how much weight I'd lost on this, like, just by burning carbs. Then the next morning, it's like, oh, don't stand on it there. They're kind of linos warped, and you get a funny reading. So I pulled it out to the proper weigh-in spot, and haven't lost anything. I'd gained.
I like that was the question that I kind of touched on last week.
Could we do Bill's weight every day?
Do you know what? That might be the only thing that stops us having our higher or lower than last week. That is a great shout. We should. That is the only thing that's going to stop us from having our ZZ
higher or
pizzas.
lower, but we don't say the actual figure.
Oh, interesting. Because last week I said higher or lower, what was the percentage of Bill's body weight that he put on by standing on the wrong part of the scales? And it was 2.8%. So there you go. Okay, but it was interesting is my next question. So 12 kilograms was the last question. Mm-hmm. How many times have you moaned about the weight of the camera equipment since you've been doing this podcast? Higher or lower than 12?
Lower.
I would say 17 is a minimum, absolute minimum, to the point where you don't even want to film this anymore.
It's a podcast.
Yeah, okay. Lucy, we're going to drop the camera. What do you think? And just make it a really great podcast. Do you think we should film it on YouTube? You can be the deciding factor.
I don't think the YouTube bit's necessary, no.
I don't think it is either, but I do love the idea of being on YouTube. I've got an obsession with YouTube. Should we drop it?
If it's
Or do we keep it for the last 10?
Is it that much hassle?
Talk to Mr. complains
Donkey
about it
over there, so you have
every
to carry
single
it.
week.
I've-
No, his new tactic is it's really awkward for Ben to have to, edit the video and stuff. That's his new. He just doesn't want to carry it on his awesome bike.
I think it's hourly the strength of this podcast. I don't know if we need to film it.
We can
But we're
still
gonna
put
do-
it on YouTube.
We're going to
just
do
no
10
video.
episodes with the camera, and if the public support is overwhelming, I'll carry on
Okay.
flogging it back and forward.
Who does the camera belong to?
Nobody.
Us.
Oh, as in
yeah.
it can't stay here, I mean.
No. Well, probably. No one ever uses it apart from.
No,
Okay, fine. We'll take it back. Okay, right. Okay. Higher than 17. Time it takes to travel in hours from London to New York in a Hyperloop.
Lower.
What do you think it is?
Oh, London to New York, a couple of hours.
I mean, you are right. It is
Well, it's
lower.
17 hours to fly to Perth in Australia. So flying to New York's only going to take, what does it take, 7 hours?
I mean, I can't corroborate the story until Elon Musk responds to my tweet, but it's 4.85 hours is what Hyperloop reckons.
Really?
How good would that be?
Not quick enough.
It's not
No.
quick enough. It's not. I mean,
That's slower than
What- yeah.
Concorde, isn't it?
we're so demanding.
Is it?
Also, it's worse than Concorde.
Guys, I hate you guys. Come on. This might cost hundreds of billions of pounds and it will shave off maybe
What
a
would be
couple
good
hours.
is it'd be relaxing. You know how when you go on Eurostar, everyone's kind of relaxed because there isn't a takeoff and landing and all that fear of death. It's just getting on a train. You'd get that. It would be kind of much more chilled up.
Okay, so my next question. One of the things we're going to touch on in future when we talk about what are Bill and Ben's life in 2100. One of the things is lifts and the height of buildings. Do you want to know what the fastest speed of a lift is? Higher or lower than 4.85? Fastest speed in miles an hour.
4.8 miles an hour.
As I said, I was writing this just before we
Meters per
started.
second.
No, in
The
kilometers an hour.
fastest.
I was writing this just before we started the podcast.
It's higher than that.
Okay, go. Well, you have to guess it now because
What
my
the
question's
highest?
so bad.
Meters per second?
No, in kilometers an hour. Kilometers an hour for the fastest lift in the world. Ignoring that I said
50.
higher or low. 15 kilometers an hour.
50, 50.
5-0.
Ooh, anyone higher than 50?
No.
Okay, it's actually 75 kilometers an hour.
What?
And it's the fastest lift in the world. It's in the Shanghai Tower. It's 632 meters high, and it takes 27 seconds to get to the top.
Horrendous.
Yeah. So,
Do you
one,
think you get a funny face?
I think you would though. I think it starts you off slow, and then
No, I've been up it. It doesn't happen. It's a bit like putting your head out of a train window. You're like, when you're in a train, you don't sit there going
oh.
with the funny face.
But it makes people feel slightly uncomfortable. So Heron Tower has an incredibly fast one to the top, and
Does
if
it
you're
make your tummy somersault?
yeah, if you're not ready for it, because when you go in the restaurant at the top, it basically there's a wall in front of you and it drops you down to a glass shaft, and it freaks people out who don't like lifts. Anyway,
They do a cool one going up the skyscraper in New York, which has just been built. They as you start on the journey, there are no windows and it's all this digital.
Is this
projection.
one
this is
more train?
train.
Yeah.
I've been in that. Yeah.
And you see kind of New York just as basically sand, and as these settlements arrive and the development of it photographically over the, I don't know, 200 years that New York's been growing, and as you get higher, it becomes the kind of
Amazing.
city. It is
That's
cool.
That's amazing.
Have you seen it?
Yeah,
Is it-
no, I've seen a film of. someone
I've seen it in
experiencing
person.
it. You sound overwhelmed.
All right, mate. Yeah, I've seen it. It's all right. I mean, it's not as fast as a
Yeah.
Hyperloop, but
Yeah.
whatever. Is it good?
I'm waiting for it. No, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
Is it a bit tacky?
No, it's really immersive.
It sounds absolutely amazing.
It is amazing. And then you get to the top, and then all the buildings are there, and then they all fall down, and then you just see this like 360 panorama of New York. It's
Of the real New
amazing.
York.
Of the real New York. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Pretty
Okay,
crazy.
Let's do
so
it. Let's
this
go.
is my last question.
I'm excited.
Okay, 27
Higher
seconds.
or lower than 75?
27 is the again, you gave me 5 minutes to write this while you were making some wine, so I probably should put more effort in, but no one cares. It's fine. Your mate doesn't want it in there. It's fine. I'm going to keep doing it though.
I care.
Okay, 27. Higher or lower than 27? How many pieces of software does Make have on Citrix? This is more interesting
Higher.
if you've heard the rest of it of the
Or if
podcast,
you know
Lucy.
what Citrix is.
Yeah, well, if you listen to the podcast, Lucy, you'll know what it is.
Listen to one or two. I just missed three.
Coming in late.
Higher than lower?
Higher than. I'd say lower than 27.
Oh, I was going to give you that. It's higher.
Yeah, I don't think you got one right. So
You got them all
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Oh, burn. We have 47 pieces of software that you can use on Citrix.
That's.
Does that not bonkers? It's no wonder they want to try and limit the amount of money we spend on software.
Yeah.
what is Citrix?
Oh, no.
You're gonna have to
You can
re-listen to
edit
the
me out.
podcast.
One, it's a long story, and two, it's
Oh.
not that interesting unless you're into technology. I don't think.
Okay.
It's a bit boring. Okay, now. This is your favourite part, Bill. You're excited about this. You get to
Oh.
talk about your
This is
dreams, your aspirations.
I
Okay,
don't know
Lucy,
what this bit
this
is.
part is about future technology.
Bill's
What-
future ideas.
What will London be like in 2100 if you cryogenically froze us right now? All four of us in this room. Pew!
80 years from now.
2100. So the B1M have just released a video about 2100 in cities. So we're going to try and predict. No, we're not. We're just going to say what we think it is. Dystopian future, nuclear holocaust. No, we're going to be more positive than that.
No, it's gonna be dense. They're still gonna have loads of parks.
I'm going to hover over this when you say the one word that I'm waiting for you to do.
What
do you think's gonna-
Densification?
what do you think is going to revolutionise how people travel around the city?
Flying cars.
Yeah.
No, I'm not the D word.
Go
I'm
on,
not-
say it.
I'm not going
You
to.
love the
I
D
think.
word.
Do you know what I think how we're gonna live? And it's not necessarily an architectural thing.
You've
I
got your
think
serious face on.
we're gonna.
Yeah, he's got
You
his
know
serious
that
voice
face
on.
too as well.
I'm serious about this stuff, and I'm really excited about it. I think
Guys, everyone listen.
I have a personal trainer called Harrison.
Oh, God.
Can we just
Ding,
go
ding, ding, ding.
clang?
He's the
every
ninth.
time?
He's the ninth strongest man in Peterborough, and
In his village in Peterborough.
his like watch.
And he's fatter than Bill.
Harrison, if you're listening, I did not say that to her. I did not say that to her.
That's a nice problem to have if Harold
But
listens.
his Apple Watch is hardwired into loads of aspects of his health. When Lucy and I had very young children, we both had these Fitbits that would say who had the better sleep, and we'd compare. We're like, well, you had 3 hours deep sleep. Well, I only had like 4 hours overall. No, you're getting up to get it. And I think this idea of being like hardwired into how much cholesterol you have, how much energy you have, whether you're eating well, whether you're sleeping well, what's going on with your heart, whether you've got diabetes, is all coming from this wearable tech. And I think we'll be really monitored in terms of like what your needs are and how things are presented to you. And I think that will be the major change. In terms of how cities look, we're going to get much denser. We're still going to have green spaces because we're going to live in much smaller apartments. So way more of our personal lives, our civic lives are going to happen in the street. So we need public realm. Cars are going to go other than like around the M25 and getting out to rural areas. And in the middle, we'll have bicycles and electric buses and AVs and all of that kind of stuff.
I was really banking on you saying not that, and I totally agree. Damn it. I thought you were going to say things
What's
I
the
didn't
D
agree
word?
Drones. Bong! Bill's favourite word. But you do think last week you were very, after a few drinks we had, you were very up on drones. You said they were going to be great.
I think we're going to use drones for, if you order a new pair of shoes and a guy in a white van delivers them to your door, that clutters up the whole of London. So I think we're going to have these kind of consolidation centres where things are clustered to and then redistributed. And I think you'll have swarms of drones delivering stuff about, because it's so sensible. We don't have a Deliveroo guy coming and bringing us our pizza. You have a drone. So I think what's not going to happen is big people carrying ones that are going to have loads of air displacement and blow rubbish everywhere. But what do I know? You can't be wrong about the future.
But you can be right. Is that what you're saying? Everyone's right. Okay, so what
No,
I
you
think,
can do
I don't
is-
think
is
they're
pro-
going to build much more,
You
as
can
in terms of
propose
height.
You can propose a vision and it make it more likely to happen. I think we're definitely going to build more height, because that's the only thing we have. We're going to densify London because it's not very dense. But if you're not from London, if you're from Oxford, you don't just want it to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You want it to get sort of denser and the beautiful bits to breathe and be lovely, and the bits that can be to become much more kind of dense.
There's a bit in Star Trek, whatever the second film with Chris Pine, and they have a vision of what London will be in 2100, and they have St. Paul's as this tiny little thing in the middle, and they've got every skyscraper you can imagine up to like 600-700 meters. It looks absolutely amazing. I mean, the other thing, if people, I don't know if we've spoken about this before, the aviation authority, you can't go any higher than 300 meters basically, because City Airport and Heathrow don't allow you to go any higher. If that changes, which might be a huge thing, that would revolutionise how high you go.
Yeah.
But I know we joked about the lifts, but that's the defining thing. In that you might, if it takes a minute, 2 minutes to get to the top of your building.
Yeah, but I think
just
all
annoying.
that stuff about, lifts basically limit the height of tall buildings because people have set on how long they're willing to wait at lunchtime to get in and out. But that's all just expectation. If you live in Delhi, you have different expectations for waiting for public transport than you do if you live in Seoul or something like that. So just kind of get over it, I think. And all that, like, height of flying limitations will change. I think, the world's population is going to double in the next 40 years, and people are urbanising. So not only all these extra people, but most of the people that are born in rural environments are coming to see, where are they all going to live? Where are they all going to fall in love, where they were going to work. It's going to be like...
I feel like some
Maybe
amazing
something.
music needs to come on, some rousing music.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to your mate Eric Parry.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was just at a talk he was doing. But their One Undershaft, which you absolutely love as a building, and I do, that's the only building in London that has 2 lift stops, as in it has a much thinner core. For people who don't know, the core defines how big the building can be. You have 2 stops as you go up. Most buildings have a traditional lift. You go from ground to the floor you want. This you have to get up at the first third and then go up to the next third, and then you have to go up to, which is a very kind of, that's like a Singapore style, like that
Chinese,
type of Chinese style of having those stops, and all the amenity spaces for the building. Cafes and places you wash your get your clothes in. They're all at those zones. So actually,
Streets.
It's much more normal for them to never actually come down to ground floor once you've been in the building until you leave at the end of the day. And I think if that's not very London centric, but you're right. People will change, and that will change how big
you
these
have to
buildings are.
make that amenity really good and diverse, and not just have one-off. Have some green trees, have a bit of place, have someone walking their dogs, have something fun to do, have your gym at height. If you had a pool at that height and a amazing spin class and a few different places to eat, you definitely use it.
Yeah.
And what if it connected to the one next door? Brilliant. Sky bridges.
AI. I want to talk about AI.
Yeah.
So we were having this conversation about work. I asked some people, I was like, what do you think the future of tech is? And everyone's like, so who's the famous art dealer who sells art? So beginning with S, I can't remember the name. Anyway,
Sotheby's?
Yes, they've won. They've just sold their
It's
first
not a
piece.
guy, you know that.
A place. They've just sold their first piece of AI art for £500,000.
I saw that.
And it was done by
AI art?
it's done by an algorithm. So they scanned hundreds and hundreds of paintings, thousands of paintings, and this deep learning AI thing then used it to create its own bit of art. And it sold for £500,000, first piece of AI stuff. And one of the questions was, what won't AI take over? And I think architecture's got a pretty good chance of surviving the AI onslaught, because there's so many unique bespoke things we have to do.
Yeah. I sort of think AI is going to change everything. You either embrace it or you're threatened by it. I mean, architecture is sort of like problem solving, and I think everyone's going to become much more kind of proficient at software engineering. But AI is going to change everything. All the entry level jobs and data input, how we use buildings, and we do these sort of rather clumsy post-occupancy surveys, having real-time feedback on which bits of buildings are underused or don't use, or because of certain layouts are avoided. All the information that's collected by AI will feed into designs. But I think we were way off. I don't know. someone we both know very well always says the two things that are going to remain are architects and the clergy, because it's about lateral thought and that kind of thing. But I'm excited about what AI and deep learning can do.
That's the spirit, Bill. Computers won't take your job. Because I know that Adobe and Photoshop, they're now developing AI Photoshop. So there's a sequence of things that you'll click and do on every image, and they're data mining. So Adobe CC gives back information of what they're using, and they're just gonna, you just click on an image and it'll just kind of work out on average what you want that image to do, and it will just slowly take those images, and Photoshop will just become an AI thing in the background, and you're like, that's amazing.
It's brilliant.
It's pretty great. Yeah.
But I'm the guy that likes having adverts targeted for me. So I'm sort of halfway through browsing for a Portuguese holiday and drift off to something else, and then they're like,
What will be on the
what
side?
about Brisbane? Or what about Lisbon? And you think, yeah, oh god, yeah. But
I didn't realise how much people mine your information. So did you know that Tesco's, your club card points and stuff, they actually find out, they can find out what medication females need by their buying habits, and they can sell them.
Well, you've got a low iron.
Because you're buying certain foods and stuff, and then they can better
This
data
is,
mine, and it's so creepy.
This is feeding into. I think you were telling me, or someone was telling me about, like in China, they're trialing this software where, I mean, they've got cameras everywhere, and then
your social number.
Your social number. So you've got a number, and if you're buying certain things or you're like out late at night, then that will decrease your score or whatever.
Yeah,
That's definitely China, and we're not going to get onto all of that, because that's not a tech.
Okay, but listen, they're using CCTV with facial recognition. If you cross a red light when you're not supposed to cross, it gives you a negative score. If you don't pay your credit card,
Black
it gives
Mirror
you.
episode.
It is, it literally is. And then they're blocking people from getting flights if your social score is too low, and if you pay off your mortgage and do your loans, then it goes up. And if you have a good job that's recognised, you get more points.
Lucy has a system like that for me at home. Very similar. Very
Sounds
similar.
familiar.
Yeah, I'm sort of. I think this might
Debit.
creep me under the limit. The other it's prop tech in terms of anything in architecture's got this kind of buzzword.
I knew there was one word I'd forgotten to mention this podcast.
Hashtag
Prop tech.
prop
Okay,
tech.
we're going to end on prop tech, Bill. So you can talk about prop
Well,
tech.
prop tech is everything from.
What is prop tech?
Property technology.
Okay.
So it's Airbnb, property tech, how you rent property, how you use property. It's smart buildings in terms of energy use. It's post-occupancy feedback or occupancy feedback. So it's anything from like A to B business, A to B industries, like you renting properties or using things, or WeWork, or how you log in, those kind of memberships, to bigger businesses. Like you used to have a couple of sensors on the top of the tall buildings. Now every cladding panel has 3 or 4, so you're getting these real-time feedbacks of temperature and performance. And I think for us, it's that interesting convergence between property and technology. We create most of the 40% of the carbon comes out of concrete production in the building industry, and equally loads of the tech to do with finding parking spaces and city streets and how buildings work can make life more efficient and more energy efficient. So I think prop tech is a kind of crucial thing, and you get loads of misses. People come up with sort of things that aren't quite energy saving enough. You've got to really you've got to make people's lives significantly more convenient. Airbnb just took out hotels. It was much cheaper. It was much more authentic. It tapped into people's community vibe. We stayed in a place in Sydney, and you meet the Sydney-siders, and he lent us a surfboard, and he suggested a couple of burrito places, and it was like we were living there for 3 days.
Airbnb's bonkers. In the last 4 years, I haven't been to apart from a month ago, I haven't been to a hotel. I've only been to Airbnb.
So the fight back now from hotels is, what don't you have in an Airbnb? Community and a people. So if I'm going to Berlin for 2 nights on my own, and I just rent a Airbnb, I sit there thinking, where do I go? What do I do? Whereas if you go into a hotel and they've got great amenity on the roof, you go drop your bags and you go up to the roof. So now hotel design is going towards having incredible amenity, make it a really like a clubhouse, exciting, and the rooms can be like underground or windowless. You go in to sleep and party. So that's all changing, and I think that's prop tech for hotels, but that's happening for offices with WeWork and those kind of things. And loads of areas are up for sort of disruption. And so like I heard a great quote the other day. It's like a landlord. You don't call your phone service provider your phone lord. Do you? You know, you kind of just get a phone contract with them. And I think this idea of landlords being service providers and we're the customer, that's pretty exciting, isn't it?
But I think I'm with you, because I think both the reasons why we like working at our practice so much is that it sits in such a big industry that I think property technology is one of the most interesting things, because it changes how we design our buildings, and that is the most exciting part for us. That was normally I ask you a question and you were really surprised that I've said such a deep, meaningful question, but you've smashed it at the end. We haven't said who we should email. We got our first email, didn't we? I mean, it was from your brother, but still. I didn't see it pop up on my phone properly, and he did a mock email from a builder complaining about.
We'll get a real email, Bill or Ben at architectureden.com.
So it's Bill ORBEN at architectureden.
Bill or Ben.
And we're on Twitter at architectureden. And we're on Instagram. Ben is doing an amazing job on that.
Yeah.
Architecture.den.
He is.
I think I'm going to have to get that back, aren't I?
Yeah.
I say that every episode. It's going to happen. And I think this is the death of our YouTube videos as well. I've just decided we've got so many bits we have to edit out, which we're going to cut, aren't we?
I think
so that's it. This is now
so
officially just a
goodbye.
really great podcast. Bye for last podcast.
Bye.
Yeah, because I think what we want to do, we want to go to different places and record podcasts and cool new locations and have people come in. Because having Lucy just come in is great, and I want more people to.
Inside the London Eye. You should go there.
That's literally just what BBC Sounds did to launch their new podcast. Oh, is that why?
Podcast I listen to.
Oh,
They
and
went and jumped on the back
your
of it
second
and did-
favourite
Sorry,
podcast you
my
listen to?
second.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. That would be great. It's an 8-minute podcast.
That's a good idea.
But I would love to do that.
Then you can talk about the buildings or everything.
Should we go into the building?
Oh, yes. Guys, there's electricity in the room. Great podcast alarm. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. And we'll be back next week. Oh, we haven't got a topic for next week. No pressure, Bill. Ben, topic.
Big ideas.
Big ideas.
Big ideas.
Oh, here we go. All right. Bill's like, I've got so many.
Double.
Almost like it was written for you.
Yeah. Bill's like, finally someone's clued on to my big ideas. I've got quite a few big ideas. Can I bring up my app design, my new house, my hotel design?
It's Bill's podcast now.
There's room for both.
Okay, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.